What's up, YouTube? So today it is cold and rainy day, if you can see it all out there, but it kind of fits the mood in the garage this morning because here is the GTX that I just rebuilt the engine last year. Well, it's back because it's already blown up again. At least that's what I believe has happened based upon the description I got from the owner. So it's a little frustrating, so I hope at least you can tell me that it's inevitable, that it was going to happen sooner or later. An engine that you rebuild is just going to blow up. So the bad part about it is, it's not my ski. It's for a friend. I volunteered to rebuild it. I've rebuilt 3 other engines over the last 2 years, and they're still running. But they're my skis and not somebody else's skis. So anyway, so what I'm going to do, we're going to dig into this thing and see if we can find out, what mistake. What did I miss? Did a full rebuild on it on my YouTube channel. So something was missed, something, I don't know. But, so today, I think what we're going to do, we're going to get the engine out and we're just going to go from there and see, like I said, eventually find out what I did wrong. But I'm not rebuilding this engine for a second time. We're gonna do an engine swap. Got a different engine we're gonna put in this thing and get it back to my friend. So join me as we pull this engine out and see what happened. Alright, so real quick before we get started on this, I want to show you why I think this engine blew up again. They called me last fall and told me what was going on, what had happened. So I did drive out there last fall to take a look at it and then saw what I'm about to show you and then told them I'd work on it, deal with it this year. But when I got there, first thing I noticed when I pulled the seat off, I've already removed the ray valves, but when I saw the caps of the ray valves, they were already kind of melted. Like for instance, one here, the cap had basically melted down in it. The other, I couldn't even get the spring out. It's just melted into the cap there. And this is one of the pistons in the cap. So that's why I believe it's pretty evident this engine really overheated. And now when I rebuilt this engine last year, I discovered basically the same thing, but I never found what the issue was. And I ended up rebuilding the engine and just putting it back together, but obviously I missed it. The problem, but the other thing I noticed real quick, once I opened this up last year, is if you can see all the oil in the bottom of the hole, was another evidence of we had something seriously go wrong with this engine. So we're going to pull this thing out and see what has happened to it. But anyway, I just want to show you. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go ahead and put this battery in it, and I hope the key is up here in the box, and we're just going to see what it'll do. I have not tried to crank it, just got this thing in last night. So let's put this battery in and let's just see if it'll even turn over, if it's just completely locked up. Okay, so let me show you what I'm about to do here. What I've done, I've put the battery in. No key was up here, not in the front storage compartment. So I guess it's still down at their lake house somewhere. So I've pulled the contents of the electrical box out. I'm going to try to just jump the starter relay. If you can see it right down in there. I'm going to get a screwdriver, jump that, and let's see what happens with this engine, if it'll do anything. So I'm going to put you on a tripod. I can't hold camera and then keep this back good enough to do it just one-handed. So hold on just a minute, I'll bring you right back. All right, so just in case, got some goggles on here. Let's see if I can get this screwdriver across and jump this relay, see what happens here. It's hard to get it situated where I can get the, okay. All right, so if you're picking that up, I don't know if it's locked up. Maybe the battery is not good. I'm trying to get a good, sounds like it's locked up. Anyway, it really doesn't matter. We know it's blown up in one form or fashion, but it sounded like, in case you couldn't tell, a little bit of movement, but I think the battery is good enough that it should have turned it over. So, all right, so we're going to start the process now of pulling this engine out, and like I said, eventually putting another engine down in here. Okay, so we're just kind of jumping around here. So here's the plan real quick that I'm not going to film, but I got to get it off the trailer. So let me do that real quick, get it off this trailer, get it over here onto my dolly, and it'll give me a better working advantage, and we're going to start the whole process of getting this engine out. So be right back with you when I get this set up. All right, so here's what I decided to do until I changed my mind. We're going to take out this engine one step at a time, and I think I'm going to do it this way. When I got started in this, I mean, I was scrambling, you know, for any information I get, whether it's message boards or YouTube on how to do everything, and a lot of the things that I would see and read assumed that you had already maybe done a step or two or understood. So I was looking for things a little more detailed, you know, kind of like show me step by step. And so we're going to do that, like I said, until I might change my mind and say no. But first thing we're going to do is take off this guard here, shaft guard, I guess. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by taking out the pump. And so there's two wing nuts down here. That one is off. One more over here. Okay. And pops right out. All right, so what this does is it gives us access here, because we've got to, before we can pull the pump, there is a small circlip in here that's holding all this in place. All right, so now we're going to remove the zip ties. All right, so I may or may not be able to pull it back by hand. Nope. So we've got to figure out something to slide this back on the shaft and undo that circlip, and we can remove all this, and that's going to make the pump easier to pull out. I'll go ahead and loosen these. That may be part of the problem. Here, let me loosen these real quick and see if that allows me to pull it back. But either way, I'm just telling you this because I'm probably not going to be able to do this one-handed and show you by camera. So hold on just a second. Okay, so I've taken a moment here and just kind of clear everything out. I disconnected my 2 plug wires and just kind of tossed them over there, as you can see. And I put in a block of wood, and that's going to allow me to to pry this back, and let me, what did I do with it here? Okay, so I'm going to show you here. There's a, as I mentioned, if I can do this one hand, at least this part, I may not be able to without holding this wood in place. Maybe not. There we go. So there's a clip, if you can see that right there. So I'm going to have to set you down, and with my other hand, a little screwdriver or something, I'm going to pop that little clip out there, and that will release all of this here, and then we'll move to the back of the ski for the pump. Alright, the clip is out. That's all it is. Just pops right out with a screwdriver. Once you pry that back, just kind of loosens it all up, and now we're going to move to the back of the ski and we're going to pull the pump. Okay, so I've got you down here with me. First thing we're going to do, if we want to take this pump out, is we've got two linkages here. This is the reverse gate we're going to take out first, and down under here we're going to take out the steering cable. Alright, so we got that unhooked. And then we have the steering right under here. That's a 10. Alright, so I'm just going to keep these together. Alright, so kind of pushed that back up there and locked it in place. I'm going to see if I can pull the whole thing out. So what I'm going to do, it's a 17. Let's see if I can get it around. It looks like I can. See if I can get this broken loose. And when you go to pull this pump out, if you've never done this before, let's say you've got an old ski, what you could run into, sorry I'm adjusting the mic there a little bit, they could have put in some kind of epoxy or silicone seal around the pump, and there are some videos on YouTube where they're actually putting a wood plank across here and using their drills or pullers to try to get it off. I bought the seal, the neoprene, if that's how you pronounce it, I'm not sure, rubber seal. So this pump should come out pretty easily. Let's see what I'm hanging on. Okay. All right. Another thing in taking out this pump, when you pull it out, make sure you have the little rubber bumper still on this thing, that it doesn't stay in the engine, or at least fish it out. All right, so the pump is out. So now we can move on to shove this out of the way. Anyway, so the next thing we're going to take off is we're going to take off the carburetor. So we've got the air box and a number of bolts to pull out, and so let's move to the hull, start on the carburetor. Okay, so the pump is out, and we need to collect our hardware down here that is going to release once the pump comes out. So I could probably leave this in this carbon ring there, but I'm thinking I'll just leave that as it is. And all right, so now, as I said, we're going to move to the carburetor here, and I'm not going to put a camera up here, but anyway, there's 6 clamps. Pretty simple. Just undo the 6 clamps, takes the top off, and then I'll show you there's some bolts in here, but what we're going to do is basically just get down to the carburetor, and we'll get that out, and then that'll leave us a lot of room. And we're going to see if I can leave this pipe on and if it will come out without the carburetor that way. I'm not sure. I'll take these spark plugs out just in case there's no hang up there, but if I need to, I'll take out this pipe. But let's get ahead of ourselves. Let me get the carburetor out. All right, so real quick here, got the top off. Just going to show you the plate, the flame arrestor, whatever. You've got 6 bolts there that we're going to have to get off to get down step further in getting this box off the carburetor. All right, got the 6 bolts out. That's going to give us this plate that we take out. Now, keeping everything over here all together. And now let's slide out the bottom part of this air box. Alright, so now we're going to pry out. I'm going to go with a screwdriver. I don't think I can do it with my fingernail, but so we're going to pry out the flame arrestor, and I think there are 2 more bolts just under this that's holding this plate on top of the carburetor, and we're going to have to undo just these up here, and that's going to release that. But let me get a small screwdriver, pry this out, and we'll get to the 2 bolts underneath it. Okay, so I lied. I think there are 4 bolts in here. I think there's like 5 mil Allen, and now I cannot see, so I may have to set you down because I've got to help. But you can see what I'm doing. I got these 2 out, 2 more to go, and slowly pull you out of here. So those 2 left, and then I've got these 2 here, and we should be able to pull this plate right off the top of the carburetor. Alright, so the plate is free of the carburetor, and I'm keeping everything concerning this carburetor all in this air box over here. So now, getting down to the carbs here. So the first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to disconnect these linkages. I'm going to have a throttle linkage and a choke linkage. Choke is here on top. And get those undone. I'm trying to remember I guess the oil over here on this side, and then I've got the fuel lines. You can see the Y here, and I'm going to use these again. When I rebuilt this last year, these are all new fuel lines, so there shouldn't be any issues with any of this stuff, so I'm going to reuse those. Alright, let me get down here and, as I said, get these cables off of the brackets. Get this cable over here off, these fuel lines off, and I believe this carb then will just pop right out. Alright, I want to show you something here. Just in case you are doing this for the first time. You know, it can be very intimidating the first time. As I said, the first time when I started removing engines, you know, I wanted detailed step-by-step kind of stuff. I didn't want anything that was, you know, skip steps. So I just want to show you, when you have the dual carbs here, this is the choke, and you're going to have a 1/16 Allen here that you're going to need to go in here and loosen it up right up under here. I get my camera down there to loosen it up to where this little bar will slide. Of course, when you're putting it back in, you're going to need to tighten it down the same way so this does not slide. And when I undo the cables, I undo them. It's a 10 mil, and I do them from the inside. And the reason being, I leave these alone, and this kind of sets my the settings. It keeps it the same for when I put them back in. And the same thing over here. I've undone the nut and washer from the inside, and so that I'm going to pull it through. And then what I have to be careful on all these is then your washer and nut will slide right off the end. So you want to get them and kind of just get them started that way. And then we can go ahead and pull this all the way through, and we've got the choke out. And we've got the cable down here. I don't know if that is showing. It's going to be the same thing. But I disconnect them from the base of the cable back here and pull it back, and then I unhook it from the carburetor arm, lever arm, or whatever. I can't see. I'm just holding the camera down there hoping you can see it, because it's pretty much going to be blind when I get down here with my hands. So hope that helps. When we get these cables off, I'm going to then remove the fuel lines here, up those, and then over here, and I guess I think I've got an oil line. I can't remember, so I'm going to have to stop and look at what I'm filming here to make sure I remember what I've got to undo before we can take the 4 bolts out of this carburetor. And once we get that done, it should pop right on off, and that's going to clear up a lot of space going down here to the starter. Alright, I'm going to put you down in here, and maybe you will be able to see, and if maybe I've got enough room to pull this cable out and show you what I do. So we got the cable pulled. I just start the nut so we don't lose it when we take it. So I'm working blindly here, but there we go. Just have to kind of feel my way around to the little ball at the end of the cable and get it pulled through. Alright, like I said, working blind. under. So we got that cable out. We're going to do the same thing to this side. Going to pull this cable out over here. Hopefully the camera is pointing to it. Do the same thing I just did, and then we'll be ready to pull this carb out. Take these 4 bolts out, and no, we're not. I haven't even undone the fuel lines yet, but no big deal. Cut the zip lines, pull them off the nipple, and we'll be ready. All right, so we got the fuel lines off. We got everything. And again, I cannot see, so I've got to, there they are. I've got to feel for the bolt and see if I can find it here. And here it is, if I can find it. Hopefully I got everything unplugged, unhooked. Alright, so the carburetor is out, and my next step is, if you can see, I've got the starter. I'm going to disconnect the power to the starter there, and I think right underneath it, if this camera's picking up, is the ground cable. I'm going to try to go ahead and undo that. But all of this oil that's in the bottom of this hole is not coming from this oil line connected to the engine right here. There is no oil. Trying to hold this camera steady, but so we know we don't have an oil leak coming from the oil line. But anyway, I'm going to undo this oil line to release it from the engine, and I've got 3 different size bolts to quickly, once I disconnect it, to shove in that oil line and to seal it off so that we don't, got plenty of oil already. We don't need any more oil in the bottom of the hull. That's my next steps as we getting ready to pull this engine. We're getting closer and closer. I've got after this, I think I'm going to go ahead and undo the 3 engine mounts and getting those loosened up. That way I can maneuver the engine around and get it ready to pull out of this hull. Okay, real quick, just to help you if you're doing this again for the first time, and it can be intimidating and scary. You're going to leave or forget how things go back together. So you can, even though I'm not putting this engine back in, you can mark it by putting tape around the different hoses and matching it up onto the engine part. Same way down here, this hose, you can keep up with where they go. And the large water hoses here in the back, I've just put red here, and that lets me know that this one is going to match up here, and so I won't need to put anything on that one. So I've got down here the big water pipe. I've clamped it so it's ready to pull out. Up here up front, I've got the power, the stator cable. You can see right there, I've got to pull out, just real simple, a clip. Then I have the 3 motor mounts there, 14 mils to pull. And I think, I'm not for sure, but I think that is it. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna try to pull this out, leaving this big pipe on here on the top, and we're gonna see if that works. So let me get these hoses off, get these mounts out, get this, and when I pull the mounts out, I have to do this first and sort of slide this engine forward to disconnect this pipe down here, and then I think we'll be ready. Alright, so let's go ahead and break some of these water lines off. this out the way. These can be sometimes difficult, these small ones. Wasn't too bad. And I'll get over here. We got this one. That's harder. I don't want to plan on reusing these, so I don't want to damage them. Alright, so we'll fold these just out of the way, and that's gonna, when I put in the new engine, that is still gonna help me to make sure I get these lines hooked back up right. Let me reach here. If I can set the light up, we're going to unplug the power to the stator. If I can, let me change hands. I know you can't see, but it's just a clip. And I may not, there we go. Okay, there we go. If you can see that. It's just a clip that you push in up here at the top and pull, but it's kind of hard to do one hand, as a lot of this stuff is. Okay, so now I know what is one thing on the back side of these cylinders. I have a water line that's got to come off. So what's left now is to take the bolts out there. So I've got 3 that I've got to get out that take the engine bolts, mounts, whatever, not the mounts, but just the bolts. And I think what I'll do is I'll take those out. I'll see if I can lean this engine up to where I can get to that water line on the back of these cylinders. And again, I'm hoping we can get this out. Maybe not. Some of y'all may have pulled 787. When I pulled this engine previously, I did it piece by piece. I did not do the whole engine, so that's why I don't know if I can get it out with the pipe intact. So let's see. I don't know if 14, I believe. That didn't go as planned. That came right off too fast. So let's go around real quick. Let's see if we any different on this side. If I can line it up. I'll fish them out later. So I've got one more. I really should have just stayed over there. So I've got one more right there next to, I believe that's it, right next to the stator power plug that I just pulled out. So let me change out my, if you can see right down in there where I'm going with this. It is a 13. So let's see if I can break it loose. And I may not have enough room with this big. There we go, I think I can. All right, we got it. You can see it down in there. There's enough light. I don't know. All right, so we've got engine bolts out. Now we can move this engine around. And so let me see. I've got to loosen it from that connection there. And so I'm going to pull the engine up some and see if I can get it out of there. And then we're going to see if I can kind of fold the engine over to get to the water line in the back. And I think that would be it. Hold on. Alright guys, so I thought I was at the end. I was about to bring you in. But I'm just going to show you. I'm going to have to go ahead and take this pipe off right here. I can't get to the water line that's underneath the cylinder here because of the pipe right there. And so and I can't get to the bolt to remove that pipe, which is, there's two bolts. I got one, but the one is right down here and I can't get to it. There's no extension, it's tucked in. So the only way to get to it, I'm going to have to take this, go ahead and take this pipe off here and this section and pull this section out. I was hoping I wouldn't have to do that I could just pull it all out as one piece, but I'm not going to be able to do it. So I've already got one socket set up here, or Allen socket, whatever. Got two bolts to take out there, and I've already started, but you can see I've got these, I've got four here, and now one is just a nut, 16 or 17 mil, and these are like 8 Allen wrench, whatever, I think. I didn't look when I got them started. Anyway, so now I'm going to have to disconnect this hose, and then I think we'll be ready. So these 4 bolts, or 3 bolts, 1 nut. I got 2 bolts right down there, and then take this hose off. I can remove this top portion of this pipe, and that'll leave me room to get down here, I believe, hopefully, to get this pipe off to get to this water line that's underneath this underneath the cylinders here. So finally, let me bring you back in here. Here's the hold up. It's taking me time to get this exhaust pipe off. Actually, there's 2. I forgot about the just the oil line in the back of the engine, but I knew I had that water line there. It's on that T-fitting, and then underneath that is the oil line. So those are it. Get those 2 off, and hopefully we can just lift this engine right out of here and start checking it out for whatever. Alright, so we got the last 2 lines off the back of this engine, and finally I've got it started. I'm still not for sure I can make it through. I don't want to damage this part of the fiberglass hull. So let's see if we can slowly lift it out of here and clear this well, let's see, I got it out. Make sure that cable's clear. And I am not all the way. I am not clear. Once again, I got another oil line here that I totally forgot about. And in 1 year, you can forget all this stuff, and I didn't go back and look at any of the video that I took. So hold on a second. I've got the oil line connected to the oil pump. Got to come out here. And there we go. A lot of oil down in here, so let's get this engine, well, got it out. Now everything is out. What looks like it's connected, if you can even see it, it's the oil cable. Disconnected it from the carb, but it's still connected to the engine. So it'll come right on out. Just want to clean it. It's soaked in oil down here. All right, let me get this ski out from under this engine, and we're just going to lower it down to the floor, and I think I'm going to call it a day, and we'll tackle this tomorrow, and we may I'm just looking if there's, we'll take a look at it tomorrow, and obviously I don't know where I'm at on time in this video, so we may split this and make tomorrow's a different video. I'm just looking real quick before I sign off here if I see any cracks or holes in this case, and I don't see anything. So it's not evident right now where the oil came from. I think there's some oil here, but I think that's just from the lines that I disconnected. So I'm not seeing anything right now that would show there's a lot of oil at the bottom of the stator case, but again, that could be when I dropped it lower down into the engine, just shifting it around. So, all right, so I may close it out here. Guys, I appreciate it. I hope if you're contemplating taking an engine out, I hope this kind of helps to go through the steps, and even at the end, I still missed a couple of lines, but anyway, I appreciate you joining me, and like I said, I hope this helped you move forward or get the courage to actually pull an engine. And our next step now is we're going to break it open, get it on the bench and break this thing open and see, you know, what the issue is. I've got a pretty good idea that this thing is sucking air somewhere. And I didn't do an engine pressure test. I don't have the stuff to do that, really. At least I don't think I do. So anyway, we'll tackle that probably in another video, but we'll sign off here and catch you on the next video with this engine.